All right, welcome to the third and final review of the evening. Up this time is This Way Madness Lies. Shakespeare and Magical Girls. What could be better? Save the worlds of Shakespeare from the forces of nightmares in this fast-paced, turn-based JRPG comedy. Um, let us begin our tale in the quiet city of Verona, Italy, a town for lovers and giant mutated flower attacks. As the leader of the Stratford upon Avon High Drama Society, Imogen is no ordinary girl. She goes to school every day and helps produce plays for the community. But beyond that, she's a magical girl. With her powers, she can teleport to alternate dimensions based off of Shakespeare plays, fight back the forces of the nightmare, and still get back in time for dinner. Join Imogen, Paulina, Viola, Rosaline, Miranda, Beatrice, and Kate on an epic adventure through the Shakespearean metaverse in this comedy JRPG. So, there's a bit to unpack in this description, but we'll get to that in a bit. It is worth noting we actually interviewed one of the principal developers on this game, Robert Boyd, not too long ago. I think maybe last month. The point is, it's relatively recent. I will say we didn't get too deep in the weeds on this game. In particular, it did come up, but we did cover sort of their entire library. Because, first interview that tends to be our MO. That being said, I don't think this game would have been able to sustain a full interview on its own. Because, okay, I know Petty here isn't too familiar with Zeboyd, but as I mentioned, I am. I've actually been playing their games since their initial two games, Breath of Death 7 and Cthulhu Saves the World, appeared on Steam many moons ago, if you will.
Sometime before the dawn of humanity. I mean, wait, what?
I didn't play the original Xbox Live indie games incarnation of those games. But the only Zeboyd game I haven't played yet is Cthulhu Saves Christmas, which is their second most recent title. So that's my pedigree. And Zeboyd's RPGs, or they want to call them JRPGs, that's a whole debate. But sure, whatever. Anyway, they tend to review high. I'm not that high on this game, but that's mainly because there's no soft way around it. This is another Zeboyd RPG. I'm not trying to make it sound like a bad thing, but it's more like I get the same feeling when I play a Lego game. It's the underlying mechanics are virtually the same as what I experienced in Cosmic Arc Heroine and the Penny Arcade titles that they developed. Where the differences are made up in the setting. Which, in fairness, does count for a lot in this case. Because, if nothing else, there's no other game that is this particular combination of things. It's gonna be the world's only Shakespeare magical girl title. In and of itself. At most, you probably, like, other things would probably have a magical girl who's into Shakespeare or something like that. Not the whole crew. Anyway, shifting back to the mechanics for a bit here. So if you haven't encountered a Zeboid RPG before, so it works generally like this. You have a bunch of commands. You can use them, but only once generally. Like, not every attack or a status effect will fall under this. Like, a specific example here is Imogen's Scepter Smash attack. It's listed as reusable. So that means you can keep doing that ad infinitum. As opposed to other attacks or status of, debuffs, buffs. They are generally used only once, and then you don't have access to them again, with the exception of you have like a adjustment protocol. Like if you go what they call hyper, which is like the ultra powered form of your magical girls. It's a mechanic that I saw. That is another mechanic that was transposed from Cosmic Arc Heroine, by the way. But the point is, like, if it's not listed as reusable, any sort of circumstances, you have to defend. And that will bring back your charges for your attacks and your everything, really. And that's been a consistent ever since the Penny Arcade games. And the hyper mechanic is an inversion of the stuff that they were doing in Breath of Death 7 and Cthulhu Saves the World, where, every turn passes, enemies would do more damage. And the incentivization there was, get the battles over as quickly as possible in order to not die. Here, it's like they want to keep the same pace, but tweak things to, if you're having a bit of trouble, wait a bit and you'll be able to go basically Super Sailor Moon here. And, damage, heal more, do more of the thing that you want to do. It's all pretty simple stuff. Reduced is the way I would describe really any one of Zeboid's RPGs, and that's by design. Like, they are very much on streamlined, simple mechanics and experiences. Like, there's no equipment to put on. There are things that you can switch out, various attacks. New for this game is this is another thing from Cosmic Arc Heroine, traits. They just called it something different there. It's actually been a while plays Cosmic Arc Heroine, but I do remember most of the stuff from that game. And I presume Cthulhu Saves the Christmas pretty much it's going to be pretty similar. This is kind of what I'm talking about. If you played one Zeboid game, you kind of played them all. And that way, they're like the Lego games. It's not necessarily a critique, but it does preclude me finding these games as interesting as other people do. Because I'm like, no, I've seen this game before. You just switched out the skins and stuff. But that wasn't really the point. The point is they wanted to have their formula applied to something, let's be honest here, pretty batshit bonkers on balance. Like, if I'm remembering back to the interview, this game came about because Robert wanted to give his daughter, a game that she could play with and identify. I suppose it accomplishes that. I got to admit, that's a perspective I don't have and can't access. So I will just have to take the word of. Anyway, I suppose the final major mechanic to mention are the unite attacks. That's when two or more of the girls are able to do an attack, a buff, debuff, status effect, what have you, or an enhancement of status effect. Like, there's a pretty sneakily useful one called Poison Up. Oh, right. Status effects. That's actually a really important part of the game. And unlike some other RPGs I could name, looking at you, Final Fantasy, status effects are actually useful because they don't restrict them from, major encounters. Like, you can actually poison any creature in the game here. And that does make for a lot. It's the reason why I tend to discount status effects in RPGs. I squarely blame Final Fantasy for this. For making them so useless in so many games.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy Tactics A2 notwithstanding. Anyway, other status effects, vulnerability, that makes a character get more damaged, though that only lasts for one attack. There's disarm. Don't remember exactly what that did, honestly. They're stunned. You can't attack for a turn. Point is, pretty standard stuff. And there's a whole damage system in regards to elements. In addition to your pretty standard earth, water, fire, and wind. There's also darkness and light in terms of elemental damage. Anyway, so once again, everything here is mechanically is serviceable, standard, and streamlined. And if that's what you're looking out for in a RPG or a quote-unquote JRPG experience, this is a perfectly cromulent title. Excuse me. If you're looking for something grander, go elsewhere. That's completely against the ethos of what Z-Boy does. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. Honestly, this game is a bit scaled down from Cosmic Arc Heroine. That was their really big title. In terms of its premise and that's what's really giving this game life. Not just in terms of being a unique mashup, but being fairly successful in making the worlds of Shakespeare transposed into a magical girl scenario. That does take quite a bit of if you will, literary talent to pull off. You know, though honestly, I'd say it'd probably be better to go in more as a fan of magical girl scenarios than the Bard, because you know, how do I put this? You're not going to get the real Shakespearean experience from this game. It's something approximating Shakespeare. Okay, sometimes they do have actual lines from the plays.
And, like, there's some Shakespeare trivia in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
In, like, the interstitial moments, like, in class and stuff like that, but...
And you do get an achievement if you know it.
And, spoilers, Googles exist.
Yeah, I was too lazy.
Yeah, if it was, you know, back in the day when I was still in school, I might have remembered it, but I just don't like Shakespeare enough to retain any of that.
Well, it depends on the play, because another, you know, interesting feature here is, you know, it's starting out with one of the, you know, the classic go-to Shakespeare plays. Romeo and Juliet. Like, you know, that's one of the ones, like, even the most casual of Shakespeare knowers is gonna know a few things about. You know, see also like Macbeth or Hamlet, something like that. This game does trend also towards the more obscure, like The Tempest and Twelfth Night, and oh dear God, it also got into some of the comedies.
The less said about those, the better.
Mm-hmm. Like Winter's Tale, I think that's one of the comedies. Like, look, you know, we're talking about Shakespeare's comedies. They're not the most well-regarded parts of Shakespeare.
There's a reason why he's referred to as the Bard and not the comedian. Or the jester.
I would have been very impressed had they adapted Titus Andronicus to this. Though I can also, I very much know why that wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Also, fuck you for making me remember that again.
I saw the Anthony Hopkins movie. That was...
I thought that one was banned by the Geneva Convention.
No, that was actually pretty decent. Like, I'd rather watch that than Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet.
Oh God, that, like... What the fuck do we even call that abomination?
Obnoxious.
Sure.
Like, it's not even the Baz Luhrmann film I hate the most. Now, that goes to Moulin Rouge. And the thing is, you know, I had family members who were very big fans of those films, respectively. Like, they're not here. They are both terrible, terrible movies that need to be consigned to a vault and dropped into the sea.
Ideally with the door open.
Yeah, anyway. In terms of its overall presentation, I know Sargent mentioned that it, you know, the opening title screen looked like a DS title. Generally, they're shooting for this game. Looks like it could have been done on the Super NES, SNES, whatever you want to call it. You know, Z-Boy goes for the 16-bit retro aesthetic these days, and you know, nails it fairly well.
Yeah. They nail it, but they're definitely cheating.
Of course. Like, the music in this is interesting.
That's a word.
I'm like, the orchestrated music is fine. it's the full on power ballads. I'm like, I guess that invoked a different kind of nostalgia. You know, back to the times when when like Funimation or what have you would dub the like opening songs. I'm like, to mixed success.
Yeah.
It's same
Rock the
deal
Dragon's
here.
a hell of a lot more memorable than many of the other things they did.
Yeah, probably their best was I'm trying to remember what they call what the opening track to Yu Yu Hakusho is.
Smile Bomb, I believe.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, that was their magnificent octopus. Like other things, not so much. Like not as bad as say Four Kids, lest we forget the pirate rap. You know, that's about the level here, unfortunately. I'm sure some people will find the charm, or if I had to guess, in terms of role-playing games, they were probably aiming for working designs and the dubbing they did with the lunar titles. I mean, it's got that ultra cheesy 90s dub energy to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, your mileage is very much going to vary on it. Ugh. Anyway, so in terms of pricing, this game clocks in at $9.99, which is fairly standard for what Zeboyd asks for in their games.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
especially from someone from the Xbox Indies era.
It's more expensive than that, than the games that came out of those.
Fair.
It's on par with Cthulhu Saves Christmas and the Penny Arcade titles. It's the most expensive title is Cosmic Arc Heroine at $14.99. So, like I said, for what they're offering, for what they provide, $10 is perfectly reasonable. You know, like I said, it's a pretty typical Zeboyd outing mechanically, just dressed up in a very, very unique concept, which is pretty much the Zeboyd oeuvre. Because once again, they made a game called Cthulhu Saves Christmas. But, you know, that is a unique concept, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Petty, is there anything else you want to add to the commentary here?
I mean, from somebody who hasn't played like much of the other Zeboyd games, the combat system is kind of novel, but I can also see it getting annoying after a while.
It's not annoying. I find it
later on, if you don't build right, I could see it becoming annoying. Like, obviously, you pay attention to what you're doing, maybe, but
okay, the word I've been shying away from is stale.
Probably.
Like anyway,
I guess it is kind of nifty that they're not like relying on the whole concept of MP that could, you know, screw you over later on. You're never fully out of moves. You just need to wait another turn to get a move.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think that's it really from me on this.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that'll about do it for, well, not just this review, but the review session. Once again, Galax could not be here tonight. We hope he will be able to resume power by Wednesday. So, you know, if he's not, we'll certainly mention it. Anyway, so coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, March 27th, we'll be having Brandon of Salt and Pixel Games. So, if I'm remembering correctly, another retro developer if I'm shooting for generally like the NES aesthetic. I'm trying to remember if he's doing actual NES titles. I forget offhand. Also a developer of toys. Yeah. Also does for hire things. So wearing a lot of hats here. We do have a Friday show, and hopefully we are able to do a Friday show this week. You know,
As long as the cat doesn't try to suplex the window again, we're fine. More on that Wednesday.
Indeed. I mean,
leave you something to look forward there, Sergeant.
Yeah, it's just another instance of petty fans' terminally interesting life.
Interesting is a word you can put.
Cursed is another.
Yeah, that's probably the more apt one.
Anyway, on Friday, March 29th, we'll be welcoming, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Ayel. It's Ayael. Ayel? I honestly...
Bro, our linguist is out of the office.
I know. They're representing a company called Synstoria, which is developing a game called Imperial Grace, a visual novel / otome game set in a medieval world with fluctuative management features focusing on politics and romance. So, certainly an interesting title to be creating. I look forward to talking about that. And yeah, so that's coming up on the week ahead. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.